Okay, when you have a tie, each person will draw a card. So we'll draw a new one for the colonials. They get extended march. The British do get to draw one, but then they'll have to discard one because you can't have more than 3. Well, the Six Nations has already been decided, so that's the one they should discard. So they've now just drawn a card. Now, when you have a tie, you each take one more initiative, and then the turn is over. So the Americans will move first, then the British, then the turn is over. So that will end the spring turn of 1778. The Americans will move first. Well, first of all, they can remove the D marker. That's gone. Now we'll see what the Americans can do, because they certainly have the initiative now. Okay, Washington's army over here has so many leaders in it. I think he can splinter off a couple of units, start heading to the south, because I think they know that the British, the only thing they can do is in the south. There's very few American units there. So I think they'll start anticipating the British move. Okay, the Americans are going to splinter off a force under Greene, carrying with him 2 good tactical leaders, Morgan and Lee's Dragoons, with a strength of 3. So that'll be a small but very formidable force. Let's see if Greene moves. He rolls a 6, so he does not. He actually gets half his movement, which is only 2. So he starts heading south from Philadelphia. So he makes it to Wilmington with a small but very lethal force. That will leave D'Estaing to do his move. Okay, depending on what D'Estaing rolls, we'll see if he can escape from these 2 fleets that are trying to close in on him. He gets 3. Well, let's take a look. Yeah, I think the best thing for him to do would be to beat up wind. So he pays 1, because he's going with an arrow, and 2 against. So he's beating up wind. So it'd be a lot harder for Hood and Byron to catch him. So that's the colonial move. Now the British move, what can they do? Now the British transport capacity for 1778 is 8 factors. That means for the entire year, they can only move 8 by sea. And with D'Estaing sort of boxed in here with the 2 fleets, it might be a good time to start a southern campaign. So the British are going to splinter off a force from New York and head it to the south by sea. Let's get that composition together and see how far they go. Okay, we got some new rules here. A naval move. The British are going to burn up their entire naval capacity for the year to get these guys south. So 8 strength points. So we put the British transport capacity to 0. And you don't have counters for transports in this game. You're just going to roll, and let's see how far they get. So the British want to roll as high as they can. Roll a die. They get 3 moon points. They use 1 to embark, 2 to go to the Middle States blockade, and 3, they're at the Tidewater blockade. So we have a large British force at sea. And pretty safe from D'Estaing. D'Estaing would have to go through Hood to get at that force, but it's a bold, risky move. Whether it pays off, that's something else again. Now, of course, the British get to move their fleets. Now the question is, do they intercept D'Estaing? Well, they're going to try. Let's try Hood. Hood will roll. And he gets 1 movement point, which only just makes him sail into the Caribbean. Still, it's a nice block on D'Estaing. Now, Byron would need a 1, 2, 3. He'd need a 5 at least to intercept D'Estaing. Roll, what does he get? He gets 3, so he's short. 1, 2, 3. But you can see D'Estaing is not going anywhere quick. So the British fleets are doing their job, but they have not been able to bring D'Estaing to battle. Now with that move, the phase ends, and we advance the turn record to late spring. That might be a good place to end the video. I'm just doing some experimenting to see how viable the French are in scenario is, and I think it is a viable scenario. The British are hard pressed, but you've still got a game. I'll have to look at the victory conditions again to see how the British can win after the French are in. Okay, looking at the victory conditions after French entry, it is not easy. One is reduce the American political will to 0. Well, that's going to be almost impossible. The other one is capture all French ports in the Caribbean while not losing any of their own. The end of the game. That's going to be tough too. Third one is control 4 colonies at the end of the game. That's going to be tough. Although Rhode Island gives you 1, that would mean 3 more, which virtually means kind of Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. I think that's the only way they can possibly win now. The other way is to control all the following port spaces in the 10 colonies in the chart below. And I think that's going to be almost impossible, because that's Boston, Newport, Rhode Island, New London, Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut, Wilmington, Delaware, Baltimore, Alexandria, Wilmington, Charleston, Savannah. That's going to be almost impossible. So I think the only way the British could win the game now is to control 4 colonies. And that's the avenue I'll pursue. So that's the end of the video, and thank you for watching.